What's up everybody, 8-Bit Flashback here. In today's video, I'll be comparing and reviewing some gameplay footage from some of Atari's classic consoles such as the 2600, 5200, and 7800. The 5 games that will be featured all had their own release for each system, including the original Mario Bros., Miss Pac-Man, Joust, Centipede and Dig Dug. And to capture the gameplay footage, I will be using this awesome new device I just picked up called the Cloner Alliance Box Pro. This is a standalone video capture box that can record videos and gameplay from most video sources with inputs for HDMI, VGA, composite, and component signals. Now let's check out some gameplay starting with Mario Bros. On the Atari 2600 first, followed by the 5200, then the 7800. Then I will do some side-by-side comparisons and break down my thoughts for each game. And you'll want to keep in mind with this footage, there's probably going to be some interference noise in the background, and the picture quality is not going to be the best, because after all, this is just an RF signal from a very old console. And here is something I would like to bring up regarding the capture footage with the Atari 7800. For some reason it does appear to be darker than what it did on my TV, and I'm not really sure what caused that. So Mario Bros. On the 2600 is a very stripped down version, but I still find it impressive when compared to a lot of other 2600 titles. Yes, the graphics are incredibly simple, but I feel the gameplay is pretty solid, although the jump and mechanics do take a while to get used to. But after playing for a bit, I got the hang of it, and I actually enjoyed playing this game. And as far as the sound goes, there's not a whole lot happening, but the sound effects are decent. The Atari 5200 version is graphically very impressive and sounds great, but the 5200 controller makes this game very challenging to play due to the joystick not having a self-centering feature. I found myself struggling trying to stop when I needed to, and ended up just constantly moving around, which caused a lot of mistakes. The animation, such as when Mario falls to the bottom and the water splashes up, really looks great, and I would say graphically, this game looks better than the 7800 version, except for the look of Mario. He kinda looks weird on the 5200. This game is also plagued with a lot of slowdown when multiple objects are moving on the screen at the same time. But overall, I still enjoyed playing this game, but some of the cons did take away from the fun. The Atari 7800 version has decent looking graphics, but I would say the sound is just okay. I did find the footstep sound to be a little annoying at times, but I got used to it. The controls on this game feel very solid, and I found this controller to be my favorite over the other two consoles. The difficulty of this game seems just right. Not too easy, and not so hard that it makes you want to throw your controller through the screen. And overall, I would say I had the most fun playing this version of Mario. Now let's test out Miss Pac-Man on the same three consoles, starting with the Atari 2600. Miss Pac-Man on the 2600 is a giant improvement over the previous release of Pac-Man. This game has great looking colors with decent graphics and solid controls. On the 5200 it looks and sounds great, and the controller seems to work okay for this game, but the gameplay just seems sluggish and the slowdown is noticeable at times. The 7800 version really has no improvement over the 5200 version as far as the visuals and audio go, but the controls do work well, and the speed of the game is good. Now let's move on to the next game, which is Joust. So this is one of the few games I did have trouble capturing the footage from the 2600. There is some flickering happening with the graphics, and I think this is due to a misalignment between the game's refresh rate and the capture rate of the recording device. So the 2600 version of Joust is not much to look at, but the gameplay feels solid and the sound effects are pretty cool, but the eggs can be a little bit hard to retrieve. And on the 5200, it has good colors, graphics, and sound, but it's incredibly hard to control this character with the 5200 controller. On the 7800 version, there's really no improvement with the sound, and just a slight improvement with the graphics, but the controls do feel solid, and I did enjoy playing this game. And now we're off to the next game, which is Centipede for the Atari 2600, and this has a very cool looking intro. When you power up the 2600, this game looks great at first, but after you start the game, it looks very basic. But thankfully, the gameplay and sound make up for that, and it's actually pretty fun to play. The 5200 version, I think, has the best graphics and sound out of all of them, and the gameplay feels like it should. And if it wasn't for the controller sucking, I would say this is the best version. On the 7800, it's kind of a disappointment as far as the looks go, but the sound is decent and the game plays well, and the 7800 controller is much easier to use. Okay, we're now down to the last game, which is Dig Dug, and again we'll start off with the 2600. In my opinion, I think the 2600 version of Dig Dug is a great game. It has very impressive sound, and the graphics look pretty good for this system. As far as the gameplay goes, it feels smooth, and the controls work well. And I found this game to be very fun and addictive to play. On the 5200, I think they did a nice job with this version as well. The sound is good and the graphics look much improved. The gameplay feels fast and smooth, and the 5200 controller actually works pretty well with this game. And the 7800 version is also a great game, with updated graphics over the 5200, and it features some decent sound. The gameplay feels just right, and I found myself playing this for quite a while, and I really enjoyed it. I forgot how much I liked Dig Dug. Okay, it's now time for me to go. If you liked this video, if you could hit that like button, and please subscribe. And have yourself a great day, and I'll see you next time.